Husband of the Tennessee cop at the center of the department scandal is sticking by his wife. Now, I'd probably label him as a simp and also a cuck, but according to reports, he wasn't actually wanting her to go and do these sort of things. So it wouldn't really be a cuck in that situation because a cuck obviously gets off on his chick screwing other dudes. So it's kind of odd, right? But like, here's the thing: if your wife is sleeping around with other dudes, performing oral on her coworkers in a very illegal fashion, you should probably not stick by her. You definitely shouldn't be married to her at the very least because that is wrong on so many levels. The amount of betrayal is wrong, but let's get into it. So, the husband of the Tennessee police officer fired for having sex with six of her coworkers is standing by his wife, the Daily Mail reported Friday. I don't know he's doing it. I don't know how he's doing it. He's more of a man than I am, but he's trying to salvage his marriage. Jedediah Hall's boss, Coffee County Sheriff Chad Parton, told the outlet. Here's the thing: this is going to end really badly because it'd be one thing, again, if he's a cuck, because then he would actually wanted her to sleep around to actually happen, right? And if that was the case, there would have been no betrayal, no nothing. They would just been a really weird, freaky partnership thing, right? But if you have someone who is still sticking by his partner after she lied about wanting to be in an open marriage, lied about a lot of things, slept with a lot of her coworkers, slept around like crazy, was a freak, would do things kind of like in a public setting, I think is going to end extremely bad. Like we've all seen like news reports of like crazy partners that just lose their stuff and basically end their partners and then end themselves. I'm kind of thinking that's probably how this is going to end up just because who in their right mind would be okay with this sort of thing happening? Let's see. So, Jedediah's wife, Officer Megan Hall of the La Vergne, Tennessee Police Department, was fired after allegations emerged she engaged in sex with coworkers, sent them nude pictures, took her off at a Girls Gone Wild themed hot tub party, and performed oral sex on two fellow officers while on duty. Which, by the way, this thing right here should be highly illegal, right? Because that means that they were probably doing it at the police department, probably doing it in their car, doing it in a public setting. Like, that is a very illegal act. And for officers to be engaged in that, that is a pretty bad thing. So the hinky pinky also led to the firings of Sergeant Lewis Powell and Officer Juan Lugo, Sergeant Ty McGowan, and Detective Seneca Shields, according to the internal investigation last month. Now, also another thing that is like really surprising to me, I am surprised that none of these officers that have been punished because of this whole fiasco hasn't like leaked her photos or something like that. Like I am shocked that her photos have not been leaked so far. Crazy. So, officers Patrick Magliocco and Larry Holliday, who allegedly also had romps with Megan Hall, stayed on the force but were suspended. Megan Hall had told her coworkers she was in an open marriage, which, from investigators, said that one of her coworkers, however, said that Jedediah, who the Daily Mail reported is the son of a pastor, was not on board. And this is like a pretty dark thing. Like, if that is true, that means she lied about being in an open marriage so that she could convince these cops to sleep with her, like these other coworkers to sleep with her, which is a pretty messed up thing to do. And it's just so wrong to do to your partner, like on so many levels, right? Like, again, like I mentioned earlier, if he was a cuck, it wouldn't even be that big of a deal. But this is basically like you're married to someone, they're cheating on you, they're lying about how they're cheating on you, and making everyone think that everything is a okay. Like, it's pretty disgusting. Pardon said the former park ranger had been training for a job with the Tennessee Highway Patrol, but pulled out after the allegations against his wife became public, and he's since become a deputy in Coffee County. Which, by the way, think about it too. So you basically have a wife that is a cop sleeping with her coworkers who are also cops, who her husband is a cop. Like, I guess it just stays in the blue. It's just this is just so disgusting. I have offered and extended to him any resource that he needs, and all he says is, Sheriff, I just want to work for the citizens of Coffee County, and I love what I'm doing. Apparently, you love your wife too much because you're okay with her getting banged by a whole bunch of other dudes. That's a pretty big fiasco. I don't condone what went on at the La Verne Police Department, but he sure hasn't broken any laws. He's the victim here. There's not a blemish on his record. He is doing a phenomenal job, Parham added. And according to an internal investigative report by the La Verne Police Department, Magliocco said Jedediah Hall had become upset at a party when Megan had begun kissing his wife. Jedediah really wasn't on board with his wife having a threesome, Magliocco said. And Magliocco also expressed concern for Megan Hill's mental health, claiming she's been prone to heavy drinking, and he said she had once pointed an empty gun at her head and pulled the trigger so she could hear what it sounded like. And here's the thing, I think this female cop should never have a job as a police officer ever again. You cannot be a police officer if you, well, I mean, you shouldn't, I should say. You shouldn't be a police officer if you don't have really good moral grounds, right? Now, obviously, there's some bad cops, good cops, middle of the ground cops, whatever, right? There's like a spectrum. But, like, this is just a risk. Like, she is a risk wherever she goes. There's a risk of her banging other dudes at another department. There's risk that she's going to end up causing massive mayhem to other people's relationships, not just hers, which could end up causing one of those spouses from those other relationships going crazy, breaking multiple laws to get at her, to get back at her. Like, think about it. Like, every single person that she was sleeping around with was a cop. If those people, if those cops had spouses, and if those spouses learned about the cheating and they got so pissed off, what is to stop them from grabbing weapons that the cop has, their spouse, and then doing something heinous with it because they're so pissed off? Like, this is just a liability. Like, she is a liability everywhere she goes now. It's just going to be pretty interesting to see what ends up coming about this. And like I mentioned earlier when I was covering this sort of thing, what she probably should do, because she's obviously a freak, is to just create like an OnlyFans, create like social media, drive traffic to her OnlyFans, make money throughout that way because she's already doing these freaky things on her own. She might as well get paid for it because there's probably not a police department that's going to hire her unless they want to bang her. Like, that's the reality. So, I mean, feel free to give your thoughts on this. I think this whole thing is kind of crazy. It's just like, I don't know. And here's the thing, I got nothing wrong against a girl who wants to be a freak, but girl, you are married to someone. Someone who's not into you just sleeping around with everyone. You guys should not be together. Go, like, separate, split up, do your own things. Like, it makes no sense for these two individuals to be together at all ever again.